So I'd like to ask you all to please rename your profiles with your full name and that of your organizations. Please, for now, ensure that you are muted while listening. And please, for those who can and want, please turn on your camera. It's so much nicer to see you in person. To start with, I would like to ask you to put in the chat where you're calling from. Where are you based at the moment, just to see who is in the room. And if you like, you can just give an example of cross-sector collaboration from your local neighborhood, maybe even, or an example that you particularly like and are interested in. You don't have to, but if there's something that you're very excited about, then please let us know. Okay, so I can see some people calling in. There is, oh yes, from Lanzarote. Oh, how, Oliver, how's the weather in Lanzarote? One of the few non-corona hotspots, I hear. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's sunny and warm, I can say.
Wonderful. We envy you a little bit, I must admit. Okay, so we have some people from Berlin. I'm also based in Berlin. Brussels, Manchester, Zurich, Denise, welcome. Slovakia, Martina, welcome. Frankfurt, Switzerland. Megan from London. Laura from Italy. Johan from Liechtenstein. Wonderful. So you can see a whole spectrum of people from locations from everywhere. It would be wonderful to get to know you a little bit better in relation to your experience with cross-sector collaboration. And I'd like to ask you to switch off, just for this small exercise, I'd like to ask you to switch off your camera and say, and only turn it on if you agree with the following statements. Who amongst you feels that you or your organization is quite new to the field of collaboration and you are here to find out more? Okay, yes, we have a few. Thank you. Please switch it off again. Who regularly works in partnerships with others? Okay, we have a few more. Wonderful. Please switch it off again. And those who regularly work in collaborations, who are they with? Would you say we mostly cooperate with other investors for impact in civil society? Please switch it on, if this is true for you. Okay, yes. Martina, Johan, Paula, Johannes, Sonja. Switch it off again. Would you say we often have government involvement or even lobbying is part of our main strategy? Mm-hmm. Alina, yes, from Russia. Here, there are a few people who have not renamed their profile. I can't see. That would be great if you can just rename your profile so I make sure we can see you. Thank you very much. And if you switch it off again, we cooperate with corporates other maybe than our own corporation or industry associations. Is that also that you regularly do? Yes. Paula from Fineo, yes, exactly. Martina also. Okay, quite a number. So as the last question, please switch it off again. Who has experience in open social innovations or even hackathons, either as a participant, as a funder, or in another role? Okay, there are quite a number of people. Okay, Sonja from KfW, of course. Martina, which organization are you from? Oh, you have to unmute yourself. No, we can't hear you. try it again. Alina, and you with which organization?
I'm from Russian Donors Forum. We are an association for grant maker organizations in Russia.
Yes, and you also have experience in open social innovation processes, yeah?
We have been involved with our partners, with IBM, who have been, like leading on that, but we have been supporting them on that.
Very interesting. Yes, interesting. And Oliver, what is your, of course, I know you have great experience at Endeavor. What is your experience in open social innovation?
Yes, we try to help different kind of stakeholders to build these partnerships, to build these open innovation and open social innovation processes, and we help them to innovate with impact. So yeah, our daily work is to bring together these partners and help them to work together to join forces.
And in particular, the II 2030 exercise or experience has been very, very outstanding, I would say, and remarkable.
II 2030 is the process we do it with. So II 2030 is a inclusive innovation, is what we call it. It's a process where we guide different stakeholders through collaborative exercises where at the end an impact initiative is being established and a partnership can thrive.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Johannes and Sonja from KfW and BMW Foundation respectively, we'll hear more about the We versus Virus hackathon later on. Is there any other experience where you have been involved in open social innovation processes? Sonja, maybe.
Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was a little late. So open social innovation, not in particular, but I would say through our activities in supporting social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship development, I would say that that plays a role definitely in the whole process.
And Johannes, what about you?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure what counts as open social innovation. So I think there are also always kind of elements of open social innovation within all of or a lot of our formats and partnerships. So I would have to think about specific examples where we use these tools or these approaches.
Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. There is no agreement on what it actually involves, and there may be elements of what has been done here with the V versus Virus hackathon in many other processes. Interesting. Martina, does your audio work now?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Okay, wonderful. Yes,
okay,
yes, we
good.
can.
Good. So I'm from Pontis Foundation. We're one of the largest foundations in Slovakia, grant-making foundations, and we're basically collaborating a lot with nonprofits and also private companies, and we're connecting those worlds together in hackathons in order to spark innovation and maybe to scale innovation. So that's how we work.
Thank you so much. So you may switch on your video again if you don't mind, and you want to be part of this conversation. And I would also like to ask Arnaud to get ready to show us a short clip of the We versus Virus hackathon, maybe as a bit of a background information. The We versus Virus hackathon was co-initiated by several civil society organizations such as Project Together, the Social Entrepreneurship Network, Germany, Impact Hub Berlin, as well as the German government, and launched in March 2020 to address the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. Its implementation was supported by Vodafone Institute, BMW Foundation, KfW Foundation, all of whom are here today, and various other philanthropic organizations, individuals, corporates such as Google and Microsoft, government departments at national, regional, local level, and many more. It is unique in many ways by the sheer number of participants, the speed by which the process was developed and the solutions were identified. And also, I find from a German perspective, also an unprecedented involvement by government, and not only government as organizations by putting their logo on it, but real people behind it and actively contributing and supporting the process. So And of course, it did have the engagement at the highest level of government. So let us, Anno, if you could just start the video clip so we'll find out more about it. Thank you very much.
It's March 2020. The coronavirus challenges all areas of our society. That is why 7 organizations asked themselves, how can citizens from all over Germany work together to overcome this crisis? An initial idea emerges and grows. Then the game changer. The German government joins in. Civil society and the federal government launch something unprecedented, the hackathon Wir vs. Virus. The hackathon starts with a question. What specific challenges do we need to tackle in the crisis? We ask ministries, and we ask citizens. We receive a few more, many more challenges. Who wants to join in? Word gets around. A huge community is emerging. Citizens, economy, science, public administration, and organizations from civil society are coming together. The hackathon begins. 48 hours, 28,000 participants, 3,000 mentors, 4,000 companies and organizations, one community. There's so much happening that the digital platform even breaks down. Now, teams are spontaneously formed all over Germany, developing solutions, working together digitally, and building prototypes. Prototypes for solutions to specific social challenges in the pandemic. How do SMEs apply for short-term work benefits quickly and easily? How can we digitize processes in the public health sector? How do we support students in digital learning? After 48 hours, 1,500 solutions developed by citizens are on display. The hackathon was just the beginning. Now it is time for the implementation. The solutions are further developed in the implementation program. Supported by an alliance of partners and experts from a wide range of disciplines and all areas of society. The teams find what they need bundled on one platform. The solutions are tested in dozens of collaborations. Those that work are implemented and are effective in the crisis. Over 25,000 masks have been distributed, 300 care facilities equipped with video calls, over 10,000 physicians registered as helpers, 12,000 students were supported in homeschooling, 3,000 employers were helped with the application of short-term work. Solutions that help in the crisis, and solutions that will help shape the future. The work on this continues. Together, the community has achieved even more. A new way of tackling social challenges, open social innovation, has emerged.
So thanks a lot. Thanks to Project Together also making this available in English so that we can all enjoy it. A warm welcome to our speakers. I'd like to start with Henrike Schluttmann, who is the Managing Director of Project Together. And you joined Project Together actually, I think 1 or 2 years ago from Boston Consulting Group. Project Together were really one of the important initiators and responsible for managing the platform and building the community throughout. So if you remember the time back then in March when it all started, what was the context and what triggered you for co-initiating the We vs. Virus hackathon? What were important milestones in the engagement of such a diverse range of players and also the management of such a complex collaboration process?
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Great to be here with you guys. It's always nice to see this video again. It really brings back memories, and we all remember this time really vividly. Let me maybe start with this. I think first and foremost, we here at Project Together, we really fundamentally believe in connecting bottom up and top down. We really fundamentally believe that connecting bottom up and top down is key in tackling big crises. What do we mean by that? It's really the idea of, there's enormous potential for new innovative ideas in civil society, in every single one of us, and every person and every citizen. And we need to connect that with existing infrastructure and resources from companies, from government, to really make sure that these ideas can develop and scale fast. So when we think about, when we think back to March and the hackathon, how it all started, I guess you all remember how we went into lockdown, and then it started with a little Twitter post from Markus Sauerhammer actually, and Philip and I, my co-managing director, we were discussing what we should do in this crisis. We had a digital process and that could support thousands of solutions, and we're like, hey, we have to step up, we have to engage. And then actually on Monday, we all got together with these 7 civil society organizations that you just saw. And some of us had never met before in person. We got to know each other then and there. And it was a Monday evening. And then on Wednesday, we had the final go by the German government. And on Friday, the hackathon happened. So it was a really short time frame in which we organized it. And it was amazing to see how this really went viral. And then I guess kind of what happened, you can see it was 48 hours. It was crazy. Behind the scenes, it was crazy. 28,000 participants, 1,500 solutions. And but what we'd said right from the beginning is that a hackathon can only be a starting point. You can create a lot of energy, you can bring a lot of people together. But to create real lasting impact, you need a support program afterwards. It cannot stop with a hackathon. A hackathon is a starting point. So what we then set up is what you also saw in the video, the Wir versus Virus Solution Enabler program, where we supported 150 solutions for a duration of 6 months. And it was hundreds of experts, 100 companies and foundations, people like Johanna, Inga, Sonja, that are also here today, the BMW Foundation, that really joined in, and it was a collective effort to support these 150 solutions and bring them into implementation. And maybe a key learning that we had is, so one is definitely plan a support program, and 2 is get partners in right from the start. As you saw, like for example, Udo, the chatbot that helped thousands of employers apply and receive financial funding, worked in real close collaboration with the Federal Employment Agency, the the Agentur für Arbeit, right from the start. That was key. And then another one is the Innovationsverbund Öffentlicher Gesundheitsdienst. That's a group of 5 Wir versus Virus projects that are developing digital solutions to support local health departments, our Gesundheitsämter, to track and trace cases of infection. And they really work with Gesundheitsämter right from the start. They now work with the Helmholtz Center for Infection Diseases and many more partners. So getting these partners in, be it companies, be it government, right from the start, it was really key in getting these solutions off the ground. And maybe 1, 2 sentences. What role did corporate foundations play? What role did foundations play? And I'm sure Inga can tell you a lot more about that in a minute. But what is key is they provided very quick initial funding for the program. So when risks were really high and outcomes were unclear where we were heading, these people were there to provide social risk capital, to be like, hey, we want this massive experiment to happen, and we're here to support it. And really de-risking these massive experiments right from the start and making them possible is what we fundamentally believe is the key, or is the thing that corporate foundations should do, because that's the thing that governments sometimes cannot do, providing, giving these social innovation initiatives an opportunity to start and test out. Another thing is, and that is really key, is that corporate foundations can also be the intermediary between new initiatives and projects and their corporations behind it. So really making sure that we use the full strengths and resources that are available in their corporations. Maybe just one last sentence, a final outlook to next year. With general elections coming up, it is an important year, and I would like to invite maybe all of you here to become open social innovation pioneers. And we really need to bundle strengths now. We really need more power for bottom-up innovation, and we need the right money for big societal experiments. And I think 2021 is the year for really for bottom-up decision making for our future. And maybe we can all start brave new experiments together next year. So feel free to join. And I'm happy to working with all of you.
Wonderful, Henrike. I'm sure there will be now many corporate investors coming to Germany, also wanting to be part of this wonderful movement, or maybe the approach is also adapted somewhere else. Maybe there's room for lots of cooperation and inspiration. Thank you very much for sharing this really interesting experience. For those of you who had just joined us now, we started talking about the We versus Virus hackathon. A really outstanding example of cross-sector collaboration, of experimentation, of risk-taking to find solutions to big societal problems such as the COVID-19 pandemic. And we just heard from Henrike Schlottmann, who's the managing director of Project Together, who put this all together, was one of the co-initiators. And now I'd like to ask Inga Paus, who's the chairwoman of Vodafone Institute, managing director of the Vodafone Foundation. And she does like the tech sector because she has been in the tech sector for a long time, with Microsoft before. So the question to you would be, it was, as we heard, the success was really made possible with the contribution, the skills, the technical support provided by Vodafone, BMW Foundation, KfW Foundation, but also corporations like Google and Microsoft. From your perspective, what made you come in? What motivated you? And what do you think has been the motivation by other corporations to join this sort of risky endeavor? And what was the value added of really being able to mobilize corporate resources to this game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Henrike explained it so nicely. I think it's no surprise that Vodafone Institute and actually BMW Foundation were amongst the first to say, yes, we're going to support this, because we could have never have had such an impact like with the hackathon and was the Solution Enabler program by ourselves. So it was, at least from my perspective, a unique opportunity for us as well to do on a much broader scale what we've been doing for a while already. And I'm pretty sure that Johanna is going to explain what they do with social startups. We've been running an accelerator program, which is focusing on female social entrepreneurs since a while, which is called F-Lane. So we had quite an experience of being such an intermediary and a platform and running such a program for a while. But our ambition was always to kind of, let's say, see this as a pilot, how to foster system change through open social innovation processes, in particular by leveraging technology, right? Because you could have never done this hackathon and the Solution Enabler program without digital technology. It is a tool, right? But it's absolutely invaluable. And this was actually when I met Philip and some people from the Project Together team, like a few months before COVID got in our way. They explained how they created this platform where you can do social innovation processes at scale. And I've never seen something like this. And when Philip then explained, and Henrike, that they're going to do not as intended a sustainability challenge and hackathon program, which we actually wanted to support on farm to fork basically sustainable agriculture. But instead the COVID challenge and the COVID hackathon, I immediately said that that's great. Let's put farm to fork on the backlog. We're going to do this later, but let's now focus on this acute crisis and pandemic, and let's enable citizens and innovators and really to come up with good solutions, good problem statements, and bring them all together and convene them. And I think we've got different roles, coming back to your question. I think similar to BMW foundations, we are kind of running programs ourselves. So we really want to foster these types of mechanisms. I mean, Johannes needs to speak for himself, but I know that we've got similar approaches. And on the other way, we can learn a lot, right? I mean, there's a good reason why I'm doing this research with Johanna and Thomas Gegenhuber from Hertie School in Stanford, because we really want to understand what are success factors for such mechanisms. So we've got a kind of, let's say, incubation and research interest in these particular topics, and we want to make sure that this becomes mainstream at a certain stage. So when we talk about Google and Microsoft, actually, these are large tech corporations which really, let's say, have big innovation processes. They've got like hundreds and thousands of developers who can jump in and help the teams. We've got also technical resources at Vodafone. So we really got a lot of help from our colleagues from the business with regards to mentors and technical help. But I mean, Google and Microsoft are software development companies, so they directly help with technical expertise in their networks. Right? So you need to distinct. And I mean, KfW surely has a different role because they are looking for the ones which they also can finance in the future, because you need this type of investments to make sure that the best solutions can scale.
Thank you so much, Inge. You already referred to Johanna Mair and the success factors that we are all very curious to find out more about. So let me introduce you to Johanna Mair, who maybe many of you know already. She's a leading academic in the field of social innovation, professor at the Hertie School in Berlin, co-director of the Global Innovation for Impact Lab at the Stanford Center on Philanthropy and Civil Society, and co-editor of the Stanford Social Innovation Review. Johanna, you participated in the process actively as a person as well as a researcher in the process throughout. And from an academic perspective, what fascinated you about this process, and what have been the key learnings that have been emerging from your work so far that you're doing with support by Vodafone Institute in your research capacity? And maybe looking forward, and Henrika also already mentioned that as well, what should we use similar formats for other societal challenges? And if so, for which cases would they be most appropriate?
Thank you, Anja, for having me. It's a delight to be here. Well, I could spend obviously 5 hours on this now, but let me be very succinct here. And I'm speaking obviously also on behalf of our research team. Inge mentioned it. I do this by partners in crime, Thomas Gegenhuber, and our wonderful research associates, Laura Teta and René Luersen. So, what fascinated me about this? Well, it was a unique learning opportunity that was so in my eyes, because we could not possibly predict or prescribe such an experiment. And you saw what I meant, because the video just kind of shows it so incredibly. So the question, how and if we can actually turn something so unconventional and institutionalize it, is of course interesting for me as a social scientist, but also as someone who deeply cares about this field of practice. And as you mentioned, I'm the academic editor of Stanford Social Innovation Review, where we really try to be a little bit the guardian of the field and saying, like, we should go more in this direction. We have enough of this bullshit in here, or buzzwords here. And so, of course, this was such a unique experiment here. What are some of the aspects of this uniqueness? Well, how it was set up, you saw it, the timing, the pace, the setup, the involvement of partners who didn't know each other, right? The endorsement of the chancellery, then the amazing mobilization power of this. Who came together here, young, old, different social economic classes in one weekend, and then the continuation of this process with the teams not only being excited for one weekend, no, for 6 months they were basically did hang in there, and the involvement of the corporate sector as mentors, the public sector opening up, some change agents bubbling up here and there at the local level, at the ministry level. And then, of course, ultimately, probably of interest to most of you here in the impact investing side, also the diversity, the diverse multiple dimensions of how we can potentially imagine impact. So this is really what for me was an obvious learning opportunity. But let me also tell you what really then triggered this saying, yes, I'm going to be involved here. And let me tell you, these last 9 months have been quite unique in the sense of these 20 hours a week being in the field and being exposed to that. I had to protect myself from the Stockholm syndrome at some point in time, I have to say. The unique willingness to learn in this experiment. There were so many unknowns and we talked about them. But the Vodafone Institute, who enables us to do this, of course, with financial support, but more importantly, with an explicit mandate to develop knowledge that will be publicly accessible. The willingness, I would even say hunger, of the organizing team to learn along the way and use us extensively as these extra pair of eyes, ears, making sense. The chancellery, of course, who has endorsed us as the learning partner, and then the mentor stakeholders that we have actually been able to tap into, and ultimately and very importantly, the teams who actually carried out the solutions, looked at the problems, who opened up their hearts, minds, and really discussed with us what works and what didn't work. So ultimately, for me, this was an incredible opportunity to showcase how something that we have done, are doing in our small lab at Stanford, to show how this is also possible here in Germany, in Europe, the really understanding the collaboration as a learning partnership. So this is why I'm in this and why I find this exciting and why we should also care. It's really the learning potential for all of us. Let me just very briefly talk about the learnings. And I think I can just say that one size does not fit all. So don't get carried away with a new label of open social innovation. What is unique here is that Project Together, together with the organizers, are pioneering a new method, how to do it. As Johanna, I think, also mentioned before, let's be frank, social innovation with openness or with participatory forms is not social innovation, right? That's exactly the point. But what we are missing is really how to do this. And this is really what Project Together and the VIR versus virus experiment can show us. And then it's on us to understand what works in which constellation. So here, for example, the hackathon might not be the form of generating ideas for some challenges, right? You might need a much more longer phase in terms of scoping the problem. So it's really adapting this method along the way, which is ahead of us.
Wonderful, Johanna, and I think it's really important to move beyond just the example of we versus virus hackathon and really see this in the bigger picture and learn as we move along and admit that we don't know so much as yet. There's the question from Caroline congratulating you to this inspiring initiative, but also she's asking a question about how of doing it, and that's exactly, I think, where we are at, where we're trying to figure out how is it actually, what are the tools that can be used next time we are doing this, and really trying to institutionalize these tools and build up the knowledge. And this is really the important work that you, together with all the people who have been involved and will be involved in the future, I hope, are working on very busily. Now I can see this is so exciting, and I'm sure we could talk about for hours. Of course, my time management has not been very effective in the sense that we meant to be in breakout groups already to discuss these topics in more detail. We don't have a lot of time for it, but I just like to encourage you. I would like to suggest that we still break out in smaller groups for just a few minutes. Maybe until 10:48, and just share a little bit our reactions on what just has been said. So I think we don't even have to go into details of asking specific questions. I think it would be useful just to divide up people in different groups, and then you just share about your reactions and maybe ask some more questions to the organizers and the speakers. And then we come back in 10 minutes or so. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I know it was a short discussion, but I hope you were able to get to know each other, get to know the process a little bit more, start engaging and seeing the opportunities of further engagement even after the session. We would like to find out a little bit, try and summarize a little bit these discussions that happen. I'd like to ask you, and if I can ask Arnaud maybe to put up the details in the chat. We would like to find out a little bit with you what your reaction on what you think are the perceived barriers that prevent investors for impact from funding and supporting such cross-sectoral collaboration processes that, as we heard earlier, are indeed perceived to be at least quite risky, or probably are risky, and where you have to bet on the unknown. So I'd like to ask you to get your mobile phone out, and then if Arnaud can share with us the code. I think you have to go on this icon with the screen, no? Then we can all see the code, and you can even see the code. If you go to that website, slido.com, and you enter the code 95513, what are the main barriers that prevent investors for impact from funding and supporting such cross-sectoral collaboration projects? Yeah, if you can. So it can be a perceived higher risk of failure, difficulties in measuring impact, or maybe attributing your own contribution to impact achieved. It can be maybe also a lack of internal support by leadership, by your own leadership management, and maybe also the concern that maybe more players require more engagement. And we discussed this yesterday in the session with Caroline, where there were also some concerns about that. So let's just wait if there are one or two more views on this. So it is indeed the higher risk of failure compared to a situation where you invest in a grantee that maybe has worked on certain social problems for a long time. You know what they're able to do, you support that grantee, and you continue, or the investee, you invest in a certain investee that may seem to be safer. So it seems like the higher risk of failure is one of the major concerns. If we can get to the second question, what are the three most important factors that are critical to the success of such a collaborative, open innovation process? What would you say? Same same one. We just go to the next question. If you can, exactly, then we can see this on the screen. What are the 3 most important factors that are critical to the success of such a collaborative open innovation process? And here we will try and create a small word cloud to see whether there are some factors that come up again and again. Have you voted? Impact assessment framework, exactly. So to agree on a common impact, curiosity, trust, open-mindedness, commitment. Another one on trust. Most stakeholders. Curiosity, I like that one. Openness. So it seems to be very much a certain attitude even that comes with it. It's an open-mindedness, openness, commitment, also very interesting, that you don't leave when it gets difficult, or that you continue to stay involved even after the first exciting ideas popping up, then really support also the implementation. And the impact assessment framework, I assume it also has something to do with agreeing on a common agenda. Wonderful. Thank you very much. I know maybe you can stop sharing so that we can all see each other for the last couple of minutes. Thank you so much for all of you who stayed with us to the end. Can I just get some quick reaction from you, whoever wants to share? How do you feel now at this 60 minutes after we started? What were the most impressive insights for you in this process? Anybody? Just go ahead if you just make a sign. And yes, Oliver.
Yes, maybe just very quickly, but so I very fascinated with the work that has been done with the Beer versus Virus campaign. And for me, again, I realized that what we're doing here is talking about a new approach to solve problems. It's not about buzzwords. It's about thinking about, okay, what is an approach, a methodology that we can apply to many kind of challenges. And today this was emphasized again, and learned a lot of interesting things, that cool conversations also in the breakout room with super interesting insights. So thanks everyone for being here and to shaping this methodology and this approach to solve big problems.
Yes, interesting. Yes, and I couldn't agree more with you. This is exactly what we like to do under collaboration for impact at EVPA, because we do feel it's so important to better understand these tools and learn about these tools. Wonderful. Anybody else who wants to share?
Yeah, may I go? I just wanted to say thank you for the way that you have constructed the discussion, because it was really great to hear from speakers. You know, they had the same vision, but at the same time, quite different approaches. So they had different objectives within the same like collaboration process. And that is so great that they have been, they're moving in the same direction, but at the same time, they're conscious of, what they want to do within this like bigger collaboration scheme. And this is great because there was so much practical advice and insights for us. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Alina, for that feedback. And I can see that Henrika already posted her contact details. Also, we at EVPA, of course, we're very happy to facilitate any connection that you'd like to have on this, and digging more into details with some peers. We're very happy to support this exchange of perspective. Anybody else?
I think I would just like to say thank you. Really, it was super inspiring. I didn't really know what to expect from the session. And I chose it because I had no clue about this. So I've learned a lot, and a lot of ideas are in my head. And of course, now need to find a way the how to implement it. So I may get back
exactly
to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise, for that feedback. What do you think? How would you use it in your own work context? Do you already have an idea?
Yes, well, I think the whole definition of challenges really on a bottom up. I mean, we're very grassroots. We work really with partners who know about, in our case, hemophilia, and know there are challenges, but they're also getting actually to an even lower lower level. Really, we work with patients and with doctors, but with the more top level of those, and then really getting. And then also getting other people involved who are not from the hemophilia community, and on a global scale. Yeah. So really, I think the deep dive.
The deep dive, really getting to the root causes. That's something also we discussed yesterday. They really trying to understand what the root causes, and the more you get into the root causes, the more actually you do need to collaborate with different actors to find a solution to the problem, and to actually also implement the solution. Not only find and say, oh, I in theory I know what we'd like to do.
Yes,
wonderful.
And I think this is gonna lead to more collaborations.
That's a nice way of ending it with that word of collaboration. Thank you very much for this inspiring session. Thank you all for your contribution and your interest. As I said, please get in touch with us if you are interested to do more of this exchanging on the how. I'm there to support this process. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.